Hello, hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Purse Strings Lunch and Learn we host here about every other week. We're so excited to tune in today and talk about cryptocurrency since that is just such a big thing these days. For those of you who are new here, my name is Maggie Nielsen. I'm a partner at Purse Strings. We're all about providing tips, tricks, some financial know-how to get the wheels turning. But then when you're ready to plan for retirement, buy some crypto, get divorced, get an estate plan, whatever it may be. We have top tier professionals willing, ready, and able to serve you. We call those our Purse Strings approved professionals, and Rachel is one of them. Today, her husband is joining her as well, Brandon. And so we're so excited to dive into this crypto. But before we get started, could you guys introduce a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Rachel. I know. It's weird. I'm not Brandon. So I own a bookkeeping firm, and we also...
We have lots of different things we do. We also have a CBD company. We also have a trading company. One of our things is a crypto trading company. And we've recently started our KIS crypto, which is keep it simple, keep it safe, keep it secure crypto, where we educate. We teach crypto kindergarten. And so we literally help people learn about crypto, how to get into crypto, and how to not get taken by crypto. And so that's one of the biggest things, is keeping it safe and secure and keeping it in your control. And she does for all the book. I've been doing crypto since 2011, and she manages to figure out how to do all the bookkeeping for my crypto, which is harder than me actually buying and trading crypto.
I'm sure.
Oh, thank you.
Well, we're so excited to have you both on here today. As we are, talking before jumping on this, Rachel and Brandon shared that they own 6 businesses, so no grass grows under their feet. So they, she'll probably keeps the books in all these businesses. But today we are talking about crypto. So anyone tuning in, please feel free to pop any questions in the chat. We're happy to help answer them. But let's just start with the basics. What is crypto in general?
So generally speaking, I would call it a digital currency, just like the dollar or the yen or the ruble. It lives on a blockchain, the information, which is like a checkbook ledger, almost like a QuickBooks, if you will, which everyone can see. Everyone can see this data, this information, this currency. So, I mean, there are even, which some people don't even know, there are ATMs for Bitcoin and other crypto. There are...
Dish Network takes your crypto to pay for your Dish bill.
Yeah, if you have Dish, you'll see a Bitcoin button where you can put in your information. So it's a huge, I'd consider it a market, just like the stock market, right? It's just a different market. So it's a different way to look at it.
And it all works with your digital wallet. So the same as you would a regular wallet, pull out your credit card. This is all digital.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen some articles about like random pizza places that take cryptocurrency, and a different family who only travels spending on crypto. So it depends on where they go.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, the pizza.
So the biggest story was the fact that somebody traded a long time ago, back in 2010, they traded Bitcoin for pizzas.
Like hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin.
We're talking almost billions of dollars now. If they kept that Bitcoin, it'd be worth like $1 billion, $2 billion, versus they got a couple pizzas. So, but back in the day, it wasn't worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, hey, I'm hungry now. I have this thing that's fictional. Let's do it. It's no different than those kids that used to stick baseball cards in their bike spokes that are now could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But back then, it made a nice sound.
And that's true. I mean, we also see like currency change throughout time. I mean, I know when my mom was a kid, she'd talk about buying penny candy. You can't buy candy for a penny anymore. But, it seemed like a deal then. So it's just interesting how currency changes in worth. I mean, it does crypto or any other currency, really.
Right. And the key here is, what can it be used for? And it's how do we use it and what can we use it for? And you can literally buy a house right now with crypto. And it goes farther than just that, but it goes into the NFT space. It goes into the Web3 space. It goes much farther, you're talking about this is what the future of currency is going to look like. When you need to send things, this is what the banks are looking at right now, because I can send money from here to China instantly in a fraction of a second, versus it takes 3 days to wire or 7 days to wire, and it can come back, and I can do it right this second, and I can see it from my phone to their phone, and how it's cryptocurrency is meant for a peer-to-peer. It's I can transfer money directly to you with no middlemen. I don't need a bank in the middle. I don't need American Express charging me money. I don't need any of that stuff in the middle. Venmo doesn't need to take a percentage. It should be straight, like me giving you $1. That's what the cryptocurrency is. It's just straight peer-to-peer.
I love that. Yeah, we're trying to cut out the middleman wherever we can these days. So what type of crypto are out there right now?
Most people know Bitcoin as being like the end all be all, but after Bitcoin started, I mean, you have, I don't want to tell them about that.
Thousands.
Don't. There's one that has an inappropriate name.
There's lots of them have inappropriate
names. He purchased just so he could say that he had that. Anyway, we won't discuss it.
Boys.
But there are
Hey, I made money with it. That's all that matters.
He did.
There you go.
He did. But there are thousands, and you just can't go with what you hear in the news or on TikTok. You know, it's not as simple as just going on and purchasing what's hot today, and it's not going to be tomorrow. So you're taking a huge risk if you don't know and you're uneducated about which currency you want to invest in.
It's really no different than taking the New York Stock Exchange and throwing a dart at a board.
Yeah.
Oh, I want something that looks like X, Y, Z. You have no clue what it is. You have to think of it more like investing in a company and what that company. So for this, it's more of a utility. But there's everything from meme coins that are just funny pictures that people decide to make. There's stuff that are shit coins that literally are just meant to be rug pulls that are people are planning on Ponzi schemes, and that's what they're for. And then there's utility tokens, which is what we tend to focus on mostly, is utility coins. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the occasional, if you can get into a meme coin early enough and people and Kim Kardashian's preaching it, great. But by the time you see it on TikTok, it's probably a little too late to get into it. That's usually when it's about to pump and dump.
Interesting. And so would you say these different coins are more like how we have different currency, like the yen and the different things like that? Or would you say it's more like a different stock, like different businesses?
I would do it more towards stock.
Yeah.
There are some that are straight, like UST, you're talking about are stable coins that are strictly like a currency. It is meant to move things into and move out of so that you have that stability. But when you start looking at like proof of service versus proof of work, which is how you get your coins. You don't just get them. They're mined, they're created, but that is done by proof of service and proof of work. Just to show you, Ethereum, which is the second largest coin, just moved from a proof of work to a proof of service. That means it went from mining to smart contracts and how it works. So you're looking at the ability to, and gas fees to move every time you transfer, how much it gets burned. So there's a ton of this to this market that you have to kind of understand. And it takes some education. It can't just be, let me just throw $100 on black. It's not a roulette wheel. It's not like I can just guess what numbers random. There's rhyme and reason, just like the waves, like the currents in the ocean. There's rhyme and reason why the waves come in and why the waves go out. Same with cryptocurrency. Same with any stock exchange.
Interesting. And so somebody asked, are there any regulations around this?
Minimal. I mean, you're getting them now. They're coming in. Every country has some rules. You're looking at right now, the US is putting in tons of regulations that are trying to get into it. But you have people trying to set the regulations that, I mean, literally their grandchildren are explaining them how to use their cell phone.
Right.
And so how do you go, oh, this is the future. And by the way, you're still using dial-up. Anybody with an AOL.com, email address shouldn't be coming up with crypto regulations.
Yeah, I love that. And so we're hearing a lot about FTX, a lot of it right now. So all in the news. What is it and what does it mean?
Ooh, I'll take this one. Okay. FTX was an exchange, just like you would think of any, like the stock. It's where you go to buy and sell crypto. You put it through the exchange and it moves it to buy and sell and trade cryptos.
And it's one platform that exists.
This is just one of the many exchanges.
Right.
There's 100 exchanges, but this is like one of the biggest. I think it was number 3. It was the third largest biggest.
Kind of like Coinbase and some other ones like that.
Coinbase, Crypto.com, Kraken.
Okay.
The big thing is when you buy, a lot of people leave their money in the exchange, right? Because you don't necessarily, you want to keep moving it quickly, and to take it out of the exchange, to put it on a hot wallet versus a cold wallet, to move it back and forth costs fees to move it back and forth. So sometimes a lot of people left it on the exchange so that they could transfer it and move it quicker and easier. The problem here was FTX, worth $32 billion, all of a sudden started giving money to some of their partners, Alameda Research. And apparently this was like asking a third grader to sit there and figure out the finance. It was like a little boys club that they sat there and like, oh yeah, well, we have $10 in the bank here, so that's good. What they didn't realize is some of the money was their clients' money.
Right.
Some of the money was their money. Some of the money was from fees. Some of it wasn't. So what they kept doing was they eventually started giving out money that wasn't theirs to give out. They started giving out their clients' money.
So what you're saying is they didn't have a good bookkeeper.
The person that if you remember Enron that went down, the person who went through and did that got put in charge of Enron to clean up that mess is now put in charge of FTX. And he says this is the worst thing he's ever seen. This wasn't a real company. This was somebody saying, hey, look, I'm going to do this. He loaned himself $1 billion. He bought his parents a house for.
How do you do that?
That he bought property in the Bahamas. Literally $32 billion. And he gave it out. And here's the best part. Because FTX was worth $32 billion, he started a coin off of that, FTT, which he then had value to it because it was based on FTX. The problem was he then used that to loan out. And so when you start loaning off against that, so now you have your company's worth $32 billion. You have your own coin that you've now sent out. That's like saying all of a sudden I came up with my own Brandon dollar and started handing it out to you and loaning against it. And you gave me money based on that dollar. And now all of a sudden the whole thing crashes. You're like, well, this is useless. So the whole thing starts now. It's got tentacles out everywhere, and we find out more and more every single day. And that's why I love watching this thing, because you're going to see the Netflix special about this coming soon, I'm sure.
I can't wait.
But Sam Bankman-Fried was giving money to tons and tons of people on the Hill, on Capitol Hill. So he was giving on both sides, Democrat and Republican. He wanted regulations to get rid of decentralized things because he was all centralized. And so he was trying to make the system work better for him. And then he just all crumbled. I mean, probably $32 billion, probably one of the biggest Ponzi schemes of all times at this point. And that was the whole thing. It wasn't built as a Ponzi scheme, but it crumbled like one. Yeah. And so, yeah, we'll see. I mean, and it was Alameda Research. It was VC funding. It was tons of places that this all money went out to. And he took money from himself and the other clients to buy into 1,000 different other companies.
Wow.
So we're still seeing I have, I'm worried about Coinbase next. I'm worried about some of the other exchanges. I'm preaching to my people, look, get your money off the exchanges, keep it in.
And what does that mean to get it off the exchanges? We can teach you about that.
Right. Getting it from an exchange wallet to your cold storage, or getting it off, putting it someplace safe that can sit there, because if it's in your hand and you can hold it and you can put it in a safety deposit box and keep it away, that's keeping it safe. Keeping it on exchange where they say they want to take your money or don't want to let exchanges go, which happened to all these people with FTX.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, hey, I've got $1 million there, and then all of a sudden I don't. Well,
which is huge. It's huge.
That's different than saying, hey, a stock price went down and it dipped. That's different than saying, well, I have Bitcoin there. Bitcoin hasn't gone down. Why can't I get to my 100 Bitcoin? I mean,
right.
That's a huge deal.
And someone commented, kind of puts a bad name on the whole crypto idea.
It does and it doesn't. You have to remember that Lehman Brothers, one of the biggest banks forever and ever and ever, went down and took a lot of people's money with it, right?
Right.
But it wasn't because, and no, this was fraud. There's no other way to put this. It was absolutely shady as can be. But this is what you have to stay safe. This is why you have the chance to get 100 times, 200 times gains, because there is some fluctuation there. There is some risk there, and that's what makes you can have bigger gains. So I always preach, don't be putting your rent payment into crypto.
Oh,
Right.
no.
But especially if you're young, if you're in your 20s, you're 18, you're 15, you're 30, you have money that you're going to spend that you're not going to touch for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, put that into some gambling. Let that get 100 times your money on it.
But that's what it is. It's taking a risk. It is gambling a little bit.
It's gambling. But
just kind of like any investment, though, as we know, and putting your money in the stock market, it takes time, and you manage your risk and things like that. Because if you do need it tomorrow, that's not the best idea to put it there. But if you need it in 10, 30 years, that's a much better option.
Yeah, exactly. But there's different forms of gambling, right? So there's a difference between when a professional poker player like Phil Ivey or something like that hops onto a poker table versus Rachel hopping on a poker table.
Gosh, it's horrible.
Ooh, I like the way these two cards look. That's not statistics. That's
you and
not,
me both.
Like, hey, let me just throw $20 for no reason. That's not the same as a professional gambler going and doing it who knows poker, who lives poker, breathes. There's a difference there. So when you start to look at cryptos, there's a reason why some people can make a lot of money on it and do it for a long period of time.
And others
can't. And then there's a reason why, like now, even though I have some portfolios that I can tell you are down 80%, right?
Wow.
I bought it. I'm not worried. I'm actually buying more.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm buying for 5-year plan.
Yeah.
This 1 6-month hitch is not going to throw me. You have to, it's going to go up and it's going to go down. I've been, again, since 2011, there was 2014, there was 2018, there's 2021. So you have to watch the flows. And so every time it comes back 10 times as big as it was.
And so somebody asked, I don't think you quite covered it, is how do you get, if you have money on an exchange like Coinbase, how do you get it into cold storage?
Okay, so it's all about your wallets. Do you put it into a wallet that's sitting on your desktop, or to get actually into cold storage, you can buy something like a Ledger. There's a couple different things out there. I know Ledger sales have gone up like tenfold this last month.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say you can even go to a place like Best Buy and purchase it's a Ledger, but it looks like almost like a USB stick.
So that's what it is. Ledger is the company, and they make these things that look like a USB stick. And there's some that are Bluetooth, there's some that are non-Bluetooth.
Yeah.
You can buy them to get in a waterproof, fireproof box. You can put them in a safety box. I don't suggest putting it with your other thumb drives because it looks like a regular thumb drive.
Right.
I can tell you that I'm one of those people that had a laptop with mining equipment on it a long, long time ago that got destroyed and got sent to recycling. And I lost some Bitcoin because, it was back in the day where you didn't know. There's one guy right now who's trying to dig up an entire dump to try and find his old laptop because he's got 1,000 Bitcoin sitting on it.
Yikes.
And so that happens. And that's a lot of this market is tied up in stuff that got disappeared. Hell, I lost a bunch of Bitcoin at one point and had to find it. That was fun.
They originally, so you want to?
No. Okay, so there was different ways that you could store it back when it first came out, and it was like literally you printed out QR codes, you printed out the long number codes, 34 number. So how you stored it, and I stored mine, and it got put into a bunch of business cards because it was the same size as a business card. And she was about to throw them out. I'm like, let me go through these, see if there's anything I need. And there's my code. Let me take 10 Bitcoin off here it is. I'm like, that's where it was stored. And so, yeah, I mean, that could have
It could have been a catastrophe.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Losing 10 Bitcoin is never fun, but
no.
Right now
they're worth 67,000.
Yeah, right now it was 16,000, but back then it was a lot higher. So it was great to find them and make sure she didn't spring clean them away.
Oops.
And so how do you feel the market is now, and how are you kind of preparing for the future?
Okay, so my plan's usually 3, 4, 5 years out, and so I plan for that. I don't get into the daily crazies. Every once in a while, I have a little bit of like a 10% of my fund that I sit there and go, okay, this is play money, right? This is And the one I bought was one that she hates me saying. I'm going to say it. It's the name of it. I can't help it. The name of it was Cum Rocket.
Classic.
The thing was called Cummies. And so I did it just kind of, I thought it was funny. And I saw a bunch of other people thinking it was funny. And I'm like, I'm going to buy into this now. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And, I got to say I made money off my Cummies, right? It had to be good for something. So stuff like that, you have to watch a little bit more closely. And all of a sudden I start seeing TikTokers talk about it. I'm like, okay, now's a good time to start getting ready to sell, because then everybody's gonna start buying in, and then it just as soon as that happens, boom, drops back down. The people that own it sell it. But on other stuff, I'm very, very ready to buy. But I think you're gonna see Bitcoin. Let's say right now it's about 16,000. My best guess, you're gonna see anywhere from a 20 to 50% dip on that still.
More.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of empty Gox money that's going to be coming out, that's going to be sold. I think there's still a lot more confusion. I think if you see another Coinbase or something like that go down, you're going to see Bitcoin drop again, because you're going to have liquidations. I think you're still going to see some fallout from FTX that's going to happen. And I think that you're still going to see a little bit more go into the end of the year. And I'm not saying it's going to hit 8,000. I think it could. I'm personally, when it hits, I'm okay buying now. I'm okay buying at 12. I'm okay buying at 10. I'm okay buying at 8. But I personally believe in 5 years, you're going to see it hit at least 100,000. So for me, if I buy it at 16, or I buy it at 12, or I buy it at 8, does it really make a difference if it hits 100,000? Not really, right? I'm still hitting about 10 times my money, 9 times on my money. It doesn't really matter. That's and I think you're going to see utility tokens that are right now really down. I mean, I like them when they're 4 times what they are now. I like them even better now. And I'll like them even better when they drop another 20, 30%. Things like HBAR, things like Ethereum's probably going to definitely go up, because how much the burn rate is on the gas fees. So I think, NFTs, you're seeing that as a big hit right now. But this FTX thing boosted a bunch of the NFT market. And so who could have seen that one coming? I'm sure somebody did. But
I'm sure some people don't know what NFT market is.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
NFTs are non-fungible tokens. They're pictures, they're songs, they can be anything. It can literally be a house. A property can be an NFT. It's a question of taking real property and turning it into a digital asset. And so turning it into a non-fungible token. And so they can literally be traded. It can be anything from artwork. Now, I think they've gone very stupid. I think they've gotten to the point where we started off at the lowest common denominator, and now we're working our way up to actual utility, quality, like things that can actually be used as a utility. But again, I have Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Mickey, and I love it, and it's been there, and I still have it, and it's gone up to like $3,000, and it's gone down. I think, at one point I think it was up at like $5,000, and I think now it's down to like $1,500, and it goes, and it's fine. I'm going to keep that one for a long time. I truly believe that as Web3 and the metaverse comes into effect, you're going to start seeing these NFTs play a huge role. I truly believe that Disney has plans to do a whole metaverse on top of their parks.
Wow.
And so if my Steamboat Mickey can get me a side entrance over here, and that's on the metaverse side, and you're walking around with, the sky is the limit when it comes to future technology. So I don't want to close myself off to any of those opportunities. And I like taking a little bit for the long shot, for the long shot of, hey, this could be 100, 1,000 times. I like keeping a little bit of money. I don't put my rent money into it.
Right.
And I don't put the majority. I don't put my, that's like, hey, look, eventually I want a boat. This is going to buy me that boat.
Right.
This is going to buy that vacation home if it hits. And it's a little bit that makes a huge difference.
So it seems like there's a lot of potential. It's definitely a long game. But there's also a ton of acronyms, a ton of different things to look at, a lot going on here. So can we hear a little bit about your crypto kindergarten and kind of like how that's set up and how people can kind of jump in if they're interested in learning more? Because I know this is just covering like such the baseline. There's so much to dive into. I would love to learn a little bit more about how you guys are setting up this program.
Sure.
So you can literally go into crypto and start learning like a normal education level. I mean, literally, we always believe if I can teach my parents are 72 and 75. If I can teach them about the crypto market, and by the way, I've been working on it for the last 8 years.
No kidding.
If I can teach them, I can teach anybody, right? And so they're now in it. They're now trading. They're now doing stuff. They have their own portfolio, everything else. And don't get me wrong, they call me up at all times of the night because the crypto market never sleeps. It's open 24/7, 365. So while the New York Stock Exchange closes, this doesn't. So you can go to sleep a millionaire and wake up broke. It's great. Or you can go the opposite way. Every once in a while, you wake up and you're like, oh, I have more money than I started with, and I went to sleep with. Great. But what we do is we sit there and look, we're going to assess where you know now, what you have, what you want to do. We're going to say, look, just like I used to be a financial advisor, I gave that up so I can go into crypto because wasn't allowed to legally do both. And I said, look, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to help people. So what we do is we give people the tools. We help them learn how to assess whether something's a rug pull or not a rug pull, how to look up a crypto. Oh, my friend's kid said this is the one how do we look it up? We teach you from the beginning of how to set up your wallet safely and securely, how to get stuff on the cold storage, how to keep stuff off the exchanges, how to put money on there cleanly, how to not get in trouble with the IRS, things like that, which are all big things. I mean, crypto bookkeeping is really hard, right?
That's why we got Rachel.
Exactly. And so because of what I was doing, she kind of got this thrown into this space. And I'm like, oh, here's how we do it. And then we get the fish back and forth. And so it's kind of getting people to figure out where they're at first and assessing that. And then starting with the foundation like kindergarten would, the building blocks, and getting you just prepared to go into the next step, to get to the point where you're doing NFTs, to get to the point where you're going on OpenSea to find the one NFT that you like, not just buying what is blowing up already. You want to get the stuff before they blow up. And how do you do the research to find those? We give you places that you can go to get free information, where this is like, this email is sent to me every morning. This is like, I read this every single day. And she'll know that this is my morning every single morning. She can't interrupt me for the 15 minutes I'm reading this one or reading this one every day. And that's what I have to do. That's more important than me reading the New York Times to figure out about crypto.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I read that, it's yesterday's news. And so we do that. And then we go all the way down to the form of, how do we make sure that you're as safe and secure as you can possibly be? Mm-hmm. How do we show you how to use your ledger? How do we tell you don't put the stuff in your cell phone to keep it, because that can be hacked? How do we, you buy a little safe and you keep a safe here with, half of the code here and half of your code over here. What technologies can you use to keep it safer? I mean, how many people have their stuff just sitting in their notepads on their phone? And if they lose their phone, they can lose the portfolio. This is worse than losing your ATM card, right? This is, sometimes if you lose it, you can't get it back. So of making sure that people have backups to their backups, so they can, if anything goes wrong, they can go to their second source, go to their third source, and then finally in a safety deposit someplace, a box somewhere, or in a safe that's fireproof and waterproof is the final code. If everything goes wrong, that's your backup. You can get it back, because you don't want to do all this, make all this, and then lose it all.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh, well, we have a website that you can go to find out a little more information.
Yeah. KIS, keep it simple, keep it safe, keep it secure crypto. So KIScrypto.com. It's a really simple website. It's really just basically one page. It just kind of tells you about who we are, how to contact us. But basically, we do a lot of one-on-one, and it's all one-on-one. It's let's get you up and started, and then it's after that. And yes, is it an investment? It is. It's not for somebody who's going to say, oh, I want to put $10 into the crypto market. No, but for people that are looking to put actual money into the crypto market, we will save you more than just the mistakes I've made that I can prevent you from making. Will save you thousands of dollars, right? Like sending something to the wrong exchange to send it back. That right there. I mean, I can tell you that money. I've learned that you do not try and exchange wallets at 4:00 in the morning sometimes, unless you are firmly aware of what you're doing and double check. Because I sent it to the wrong wallet, and I was like, oh, Okay, luckily that was only $200, not a big deal. You test first. You send $100 first. You make sure it goes through. Then you put the $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 through. You don't put, the first time sending to a new wallet, you don't send a massive amount. You waste the dollar in gas fees to send $100 to test it, not $100,000.
Mhm.
And so then most of these are like a one-on-one coaching program, or is there like a group 10-week session or something?
So I do some group. If they had some people that want to do a group, I can come in and teach to like a class or teach to a group of people, and we can actually do like a school, which is why we do it crypto kindergarten. But it's also a lot of for people that don't have a bunch of friends that want to do it with them, that don't want to. Again, it's the same hour for me if I'm there for one person or I'm there for 100 people.
Right.
And I can speak to lots of people. I can speak to little people. It just depends on understanding where they are and where they want to go.
Right.
But I find that even when I get a group, they still need the one-on-one. You still want to make sure that because what your question is and what her question is are going to be very, very different.
Right.
So where Rachel will come in with the bookkeeping questions and how to make sure that you're not going to be audited by the IRS, mine's more like, hey, let me do a deep dive into this one crypto. She's making sure that the IRS isn't knocking on the door. And so
Right.
it kind of, everybody's different, going to be different on how they do their taxes,
It's a different level.
right.
Yeah.
Everyone's at a different level.
And are you doing this from your business perspective? Are you as a company taking on crypto as payments? Well, how does that look? Well,
Right.
if all of a sudden you take it, someone buys a sandwich from you for 0.1 crypto, and it's an expensive sandwich, but if let's just use 0.1 crypto for right now, Bitcoin. If someone buys you something for that 0.1 crypto, but the crypto market goes up, now it's worth more, you technically owe more money on that.
Right.
How do you not get stuck with that? How do you do a direct transfer back into U.S. funds, or do you keep it all in that portfolio, in that crypto, and then not have to worry about it? And at the end of the week, you either made or lost. Do you take that chance? Is that your form of gambling every week? Is, hey, look, I accept Bitcoin as payment, and then if it goes up or down, I make more or lose more money on it.
Right.
And then how do you not get taxed on that? How do you get taxed correctly on that?
Yeah.
Get taxed correctly is the right way. You're always going to get taxed, but it's getting taxed correctly.
Uncle Sam will always get paid. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So there's some loopholes with Bitcoin that you can't do with other cryptocurrencies because it's not a security.
Mm-hmm.
It's been rated not a security. So I can sell on a low, and then buy it back up immediately and redo it again. I mean, that's something I can do. That if it drops, I can take the loss
Mm-hmm.
and then buy it back up again. From now, talk to your CPA because he may not want you to do that this week.
Or she. Thank you.
Or she. Look, I get to make none of my actual financial. I couldn't even tell you where my checkbook is because she won't let me write a check even if I wanted to. Yeah. So
Why would anyone want to write a check, period, first of all?
Somebody asked me for my account information. I'm like, I couldn't even tell you. I just have to defer to her, right? So anything that has to do with financials, when it comes to where it is, where it goes, or how to move, that's all Rachel, and she is by far the smartest person I've met on doing that stuff. I couldn't organize one company, much less all 6 of ours, much less the 30 other or 40 other clients she's working on. Yeah, I couldn't possibly keep up with her. I'm good at understanding a concept and then using that. When it comes to getting stuff done, oh, she's my hammer. She's much better at hitting nails than I am.
I love it.
Flash.
Well, we covered a ton of great information on here. I know we're just skimming the surface of crypto, but that's why it's just Crypto 101 today. Is there any last bits that we forgot to touch on today that you want to make sure shared with our audience?
Ooh. Please don't call it everything Bitcoin. Please, it's the crypto market. I think that's the most important thing, to make yourself not look
uneducated about
too
it?
much like a noob, I guess.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest pet peeves for anybody in this industry, when everybody goes, "Oh, you do with that Bitcoin," and understand that yes, it's riskier, but so were all of them at one point.
Right.
And Amazon wasn't, when people said, "Hey, look, Amazon, you're just going to sell books online. Who's going to do that?" And now look at, this is what you're looking at right now. This is the
Amazon
next
is the
bubble.
future.
this was a burst of a bubble, and it's going to come back, and you're going to see the companies that are going to be the next versions of Google and Amazon coming right now. And I think it may not be today, it may be the next 6 months. I'll start to kind of level out completely. But I think this is where you're going to start to see your biggest rise. And if you're going to start to look for stuff that you're going to make real life-changing money, because you can't be making 6% and expect that you're not even keeping up with inflation.
Right.
You have to look at stuff that's going to be the next game changer, and that's this market now going forward. And how do you figure out what the utilities are? You have to think of this as living on discovering Mars, and what are we going to need when we get there? When you get to Mars, you're going to need roads. You're going to need shovels. You're going to need the things that are going to build that civilization. Those are what I look at. Those are the utility coins that I look at, and what's going to be that utility for this new world. Those are what I specialize in. What the next TikToker or professional athlete is pitching is not what you should be looking at. It should be looking at, what is it going to do? What is this? So you have to think of it more like a company. What is this company going to be able to build in the future? And who are their partners?
Yeah.
So that's what we look at, and that's what we are able to. If you said, "Look, I want to just know about this one. Can I pay you just to learn about this one?" Sure, let's go. Let's dive into this. Let's understand what you're trying to get to it. What's your point? And does this fit with your goals? And that's the whole thing. If you just want to straight gamble, we can pick some stuff to straight gamble. Let's do it. And the other thing you have to know is there is no financial advisor for the crypto space. It's just not legal. Like, I had to give up my title for doing that to go into this space. And so you want to look at it as, I can be an educator, I can be a mentor, I can be a consultant, I can do things like that, so she can see. But you want to look at how much experience these people have. Did they just hop in the last year and now they're like, oh, well, I bought some stuff and now, no, I hate
and
that.
That's really how we started. Was I had clients through bookkeeping who had dabbled in the market and had no idea what they were doing.
Right.
But I saw it in their statements, knew what it was, obviously, and
she really pushed me to do the educational side, because I've been trading since 2011. So I guess I hate this term, but the OG, the original people that have been doing this, I've been doing it since then. So most people hopped in 18. Well, most people hopped in at 18, which is great.
Yeah.
Years ago. But mine was a much longer journey. I've been watching it since, I watched all of a sudden on The Good Wife. They announced it. I'm like, yes, they're talking about it on mainstream TV. And I'm watching it there going, yes, but it's a question of, you want to know, you have to kind of have some insight of what you're doing and how doing. And the biggest thing is, you got to learn how to keep it safe, because there are so many scams, so many rug pulls. And although it's getting regulated, it's not there yet. You need to learn how to protect yourself first. And do you sometimes miss on one that hits 100 times, 1,000? You could, but you're not. You're going to miss on some of the ones that are the rug pulls. And you can see sometimes there's some obvious tells, and sometimes there aren't. And so if you clear out just the obvious landmines, it makes a much safer road.
Rachel, you got anything to add there?
Brandon is an amazing human being when it comes to crypto. Well, he preached me. I mean, my goodness.
Yes, I go back to my parents, and my parents said, "Can you teach me like I'm a kindergartner?" And that's what.
And I had to start that foundation. Yeah.
My parents are probably the heart. Like, I called them back in 2011 and said, "Look, I have money sitting there. Can you send me stuff? I'm going to buy crypto right now. What is it?" I said, "By the time I explain it to you, I want to get you involved in this. Well, I don't know what it is. I don't explain it. I don't understand it. By the time I get you involved in this and explain it to you, it's going to be years from now." Sure enough, 5-6 years later, they were finally investing. But in that time period, I mean, if you go back and look at the best investment best $100 investment you could possibly make in history, right? You're talking about 2010, when Bitcoin first launched on a website. You were getting about 11,000 Bitcoin for $100.
Wow.
Okay, so, can you pass up hundreds of billions of dollars for a $100 investment becomes hundreds of millions? I mean,
I would really, if I you're going to do.
I'm going to bring up my calculator here, but 11,000 Bitcoin. I think it was something 11 to 16,000 Bitcoin at that time. And what's that? 16,000 right now. You're looking at $100 investment would be worth $176 million.
Whew.
Yeah, that's as good as the person who bought the pizza for him for $20 for a pizza, who's now worth $1 billion. I mean, like, those are investments that can be made, and that's still happening today. These are the markets that are going to do that going forward.
So, Maggie, to answer your question, I think that what I would add to this conversation is don't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the market has gone down, the crypto market has gone down most recently, doesn't mean that it's not a good time to learn, to invest, to, learn how to keep it safe. Now is as good a time as it was when it was hot.
Oh, now it's probably the best time to learn, because you can learn fact from fiction now, whereas when it's hot, you don't have time to learn. You just got to be putting your money in quickly because it's going to keep growing.
Yeah.
Now is the time where you want to learn to make the better decisions, the better plays going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always I'm telling my people right now, spread out, do like a buckshot here. Let's go after 10 companies instead of betting all on Bitcoin. Let's find 10 that should be good. Let's find 1 or 2 that are higher risk that could hit that 100 to 1,000 times your money. And let's hit some good ones in the middle there that can be 10 times, 20 times, 50 times your money. And then we'll have some Bitcoin ones that'll be 5 times your money, or some stuff that's a little bit safer. And let's do that with money that you're not going to touch for 5 years. And let's see where it's going to go, because I do this with my family every 5 years. I send out an email going, hey, this is the stuff I'm buying this time for this round. It's dropped. I did it in 2014. I did it in 2018. Here's the drop. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to buy. And let's see what happens. Put $1,000, put $5,000, put a little bit in and spread it out a little bit. And if one hits, all it needs is one to hit.
Right.
If 9 out of 10 of them go to absolutely nothing, but one hits 100 times, you did really well.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. You don't have to hit them all. You're never going to hit them. The best investors in the world have never hit them all.
Right.
But there are a couple good ones, and that's all that matters.
Well, I think this has been filled with a ton of great information for people to get started. And so if anyone has more questions, they could reach out to Rachel on the email down here. Otherwise, they have their website, kiscrypto.com. And then Rachel is also one of our Purse Strings approved professionals. So you can reach out to her off our site, pursestrings.co. But we loved having Rachel and Brandon on, both of you today. And I'm excited to see where this goes.
Thanks,
Thank you, Maggie.
Yeah, we'll talk to everyone soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.